This podcast is just our opinions and facts gathered on the internet, and we do not wish to offend or cause any harm. Quick apology for mistakes we make in this podcast, whether it's saying the wrong thing, getting our facts wrong, or our bad pronunciation of names, cities, etc. We also do not have the correct equipment yet, and we're calling over FaceTime overseas. Therefore, excuse our sound quality, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hello and welcome. This is Alex Taylor.
And this is Cara Moore, and you're listening to Alex and Cara's A Gen Z Convo.
Today we'll be discussing Black Lives Matter movement and also, I think, racism, especially against African Americans in the U.S. Yeah. After we give you a 5-minute rundown of the past week's world news. Take it over, Cara.
All right. So the president of Belarus has been in office for 27 years, and to many of his followers, this seems to be something that was his choice and not theirs. In the show Last Week Tonight with the host of John Oliver, he discusses some of the president's most recent problems. To summarize, the president doesn't seem to have a lot of support from his citizens. More specifically, only 3% of the population actually supports him, but obviously all of this has been denied by the president himself. There's also been news around last August about an activist against Lukashenko, which is the president of Belarus, who was found hanged in a park, but was concluded to look like a suicide.
That is so strange.
It's very suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, this is just all theoretical, hypothetical. I think he did it. I don't know why. I think he might have ordered it, but still.
Yeah. I loosely, I have a little, from what I can remember from the episode that I watched, loosely there was a little thing about how he sent fighter jets to bring down an airplane, and on that airplane was a journalist who was working on a piece, I think, about him. I'm just loosely kind of just trying to remember what I watched from the episode, but it was something like that. And I think also one of the reporters who was covering one story from him said that she wasn't allowed to film his head. It was only or his face. It was only his voice, which I think I find quite strange, but
yeah,
he seems to be very strict with his country.
I think so. It's kind of strange. He seems to be a little corrupt, but this is everything we say here is hypothetical. We don't want to get in trouble. We don't have
It's
any
all
money.
a hypothetical situation, you know?
It is. Everything is a theory. I
Yeah,
mean, my
definitely.
whole life is a theory, so it's fine.
Yeah, this is too psychological for now. All right, next point. So on the 5th of September, a WTP-led humanitarian convoy of 100 trucks carrying 3,500 metric tons of food and other life-saving assistance reached the Tigray region. On the 20th anniversary of the attack on Twin Towers in New York City, light beams were shone in the place of where the World Trade Center once stood. The World Health Organization said there were about 4 million COVID cases reported globally last week, marking the first major drop in new infections in more than 2 months. In recent weeks, there have been about 4.4 million new COVID cases in its weekly updated release on Tuesday. The UN Health Agency said every region in the world saw a drop in COVID-19 cases compared to the previous week. So a lot of good and bad news mixed into one little point there.
Yeah.
But I see that.
Yeah, honestly.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. It is so bad. But I think with the Delta variant, it's really increasing. I think the cases.
Yeah, but
It's
I feel like this
down
is like
at least.
it's going up and down a lot.
Yeah,
I think
it
that's
is.
something that's going on a lot around the whole world, which is kind of we're all living in weird times right now.
Yeah.
So more COVID updates. So according to CNN, children now represent a quarter of the current COVID cases in the USA.
That's
a quarter of the whole.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's like 28.6% if I remember.
No.
So
really?
I don't know. You do the math. You do the math. I don't know.
Is it 25% if it's a quarter?
I don't know. I think it was like 26.8. It was a little over 25%.
Okay.
Yeah, the update was reported after the flood of the start of the new school year coming back in full swing. Doctors are imploring parents to take vaccination to help protect their children, as many of them are not eligible to take vaccines themselves.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think protect the children with the vaccine. It's not about protecting yourself, but it's also about protecting others, I think.
Yeah, that is something that definitely I kind of realized through this whole pandemic is sometimes you gotta do things for the sake of other people, like quarantine, getting vaccinations,
Wearing
just following the
masks.
guidelines.
Masks.
Yeah, wear masks, definitely. Sometimes it's not just about you, it's about other people as well, which is, I think this whole pandemic is really showing
Yeah.
us. All right, so the next point we have is how WHO, or the World Health Organization, is currently monitoring a new coronavirus variant called MU, which the agency says that has mutations that have been potential to evade immunity provided by a previous COVID-19 infection or vaccination.
Oh my gosh, this is scary.
Okay, so I do realize that you may have had some of these points last week already, but just a little quick summary of what's going on in Afghanistan. Afghanistan right now is facing a huge economical despair right now. Their economics is dropping insanely. They're running out of food, and their country is like walking towards starvation and famine, and homelessness is like rising a lot as well. And the banks are imploring the Taliban to release some sort of government funds back into the country because so many people are afraid that without the extra money, the availability of food supplies and electricity is going to be harder to afford or even import, increasing the severity of the whole situation. The World Food Program fears that the food supplies will run out by the end of the month, pushing 14 million individuals into starvation.
That is that is so many.
That is
That is a
a
lot.
very low amount of days. Okay, I put that poorly, but I meant
Yeah.
the duration of time is so low, and the number of people that are going to
Guys,
be affected
guys,
by it, it's so
donate.
high.
Honestly, just do it. Donate. I think if we all do it, and if we all kind of spread the word, and everyone does it, it might help a bit.
Well, I'm sure it will help in some way.
I think I put
Even
some resources on our website for our first episode. I think the links are still good, so you can go and visit those links.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
yeah,
it's been almost 4 decades. I think it's been a little over 4 decades of this whole thing, and Afghanistan and its citizens are
it's been
suffering so much because of it.
it's been Afghanistan as a country has been in a war for a really long time. I mean, for as long as I remember.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also realize the next point I'm about to make is something that you've already said last week, but I'm just going to quickly summarize it. Taliban is trying to kind of assure the world that they become more moderate, but a lot of the top female leaders within Afghanistan has to be fled or is going into hiding, and some are fearing for their lives and their children's lives. And those who do who seek out reporters to try and tell their stories can't give their real names or their faces because there's so much fear about being being found and being killed and tortured. And there are a
Because they
lot
do
of
have a
the rap.
reputation of doing that, right?
Definitely, and I think you did say this as well previously, that there are no, I think there's literally no female law makers or anything like that at all
No.
in the Afghanistan government.
Not anymore.
Yeah, they're rallying for the rights to education and jobs, which I was really hoping that we were past, because we shouldn't be
I mean,
needing
it's the
to
21st century.
yeah, we shouldn't be needing to rally for education and jobs. It's human rights. We
It
shouldn't be needing
is.
to rally for gender equality or any sort of equality at all. It should just be human rights.
That is upsetting.
Yeah, which also leads quite nicely into the final point that we have, because tomorrow is Peace One Day. the 21st of September. Join everyone else around the world to celebrate peace and make a positive impact for the future as well as its future generations. Help contribute to our world's future by doing a peaceful act. Every little act counts. You can do like anything you want. You go make amends with someone that you might have lost touch with. Go say sorry for something you accidentally did. Go make a new friend.
Text your
Just
friends. Catch up with
say
your old
hi to your
friends.
friends, of course. Especially during the pandemic and everything that's going on online, it's so important to stay connected to each other
Stay
and
connected.
to just.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
Sorry, you cut out for a second there.
Oh, sorry. I
Yeah,
just
okay.
said definitely, but
Yeah, okay. I think we're done with the 5-minute news, and then you can carry on for the main topic for today.
yes, there was so much for this topic, and it was honestly extremely hard researching it because this is deep. Like, I think we've done the Asian violence one, and I know Kara, you researched that one, but how was it researching that?
I do think that I understand what you mean by saying it was very hard because it's something that you don't want to think about much, but it is something that is happening.
No,
I
honestly,
don't really know how to explain it.
yeah, in such like a developed country like America, it's one of the top leading countries
Yeah, it's
in our
probably the
world.
richest country.
In our world currently, and for that country to going through like this major problem like this, and how unspoken it was for a really long time, that kind of got me a little angry, to say the least, but just extremely angry for starters.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is something that you also kind of struggle with, but I found a lot of websites and a lot of information, and it was hard to kind of narrow it down to some of the main points
Yeah.
for the episode. So I think we got a little bit more extra time for this one because this one is definitely really, really important.
Yeah,
And it's also been going on for way too long.
it has. It's been going on since when slavery started, which is like, I honestly don't know.
And that was when America was founded as well.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, it's
I
been
honestly can't.
decades.
It's been so long. And also, I'm not going to be talking about everything today, and that's because I couldn't fit everything in. And I think because there's so much history and there's so much that's been going on, and again, because it's been going on for such a long time, that it's you can't cover it in just half an hour.
Yeah, all right, so take it away.
Yes. Today we'll be discussing the extremely important topic of racism in the US against its black population. We'll discuss the importance of awareness, the brutal acts carried out by the police, whose main job is to protect and serve, and so much more. During the past year, I personally remember seeing the Black Lives Matter movement on the news, where around 15 to 26 million people took part, just in the US. Do you remember, Cara?
I don't think I remember as much as you because I wasn't really on the news back then a lot, but I do remember it was briefly announced.
Yes. We weren't there protesting because we were in a serious lockdown where we lived, and no one was really up on the streets. And I really wished I could have been there, but we weren't.
Me too, definitely.
Yeah. Anyways, the international movement was sparked on by the tragic death of George Floyd, who was murdered by the police. Everything began when an employee at a store called the police on Mr. Floyd, saying that he bought a packet of cigarettes with a counterfeit $20 bill, and 7 minutes later, the first squad car arrived on the scene. Mr. George Floyd was unconscious and pinned beneath three police officers. Ex-officer drove in, kept his knee on his neck for at least 8 minutes and 15 seconds, even after he was unconscious, and even after paramedics arrived. The only thing I'm glad, and there was nothing good about this, but at least someone filmed it and someone caught this on tape, or else this probably would have been ignored like all the others and not have gained the attention it has now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Sorry for interrupting there, but I do remember that I saw the video right after I heard it around a little bit more on the news. Yeah, and I did see it, and it was kind of hard to watch.
It was extremely hard. I think I cried. Anyways, The day after Mr. Floyd's death, the four officers involved in this murder were fired, and finally, on May 29th, after so many protests across the globe, the Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman announced that third degree murder and second degree manslaughter charges against Derek Chauvin would be charged with, yeah. Moreover, on June 3rd, the prosecutors added a more serious charge against Chauvin and also charged the three other former officers, Thomas Lane, J. Alexander Kung, and Tao, with aiding and abetting second degree murder. This has a slightly happier ending, but most of these kind of cases probably don't get to see the light of day and go unreported. And it's sad that a country's police target a certain group of people because of untrue stereotypes, such as that black people are violent, and also, obviously, because of racism. My heart really goes out for people who experienced this and the family members who had to lose their loved ones to this ongoing problem. I'm not in their shoes, and I can't imagine how scary it is when an officer pulls you over or just anything really. It is shocking how racism is so prevalent, and it is sad that these occurrences aren't rare. I also noticed that how some people said all lives matter, which they do, but I think it's not really appropriate when we're protesting for the African American population that had and still is facing injustice in their everyday lives and don't have the privilege white people have. I feel angry when non black people say racial slurs, and especially when they say it so nonchalantly. They really have to learn about the history and how it degraded and disrespected African Americans during slavery. And why is our world so bad? It is literally burning, and nothing much is being done. People are getting killed by the police, who I'm gonna say again is whose job it is to protect and serve everyone, and they're not doing that. And animals are being abused all over, and especially because this problem is less spoken about since last year, racism. I think it is so important and so crucial to spread awareness about what has and still is going on. I didn't mention or tell the stories of the others like Breonna Taylor and the 12-year-old murder of Tamir Rice. He was so young when he was killed. And that's because there are so many cases and I honestly had a hard time researching. I'm sorry I just told the story of George Floyd, who I think almost everyone has heard about at least once, but I think he was one of the most key turning points and one of the most leading reasons why the movement really spread globally. Now I'll be telling you the ways you can help this movement to stop racism. Today, I didn't talk about all the problems that the black community currently face, but I hope that I covered the topics well because this, again, is an important topic and racial crimes are just so hateful and so appalling. Now, let's talk about ways in which you can help the movement in stopping racism. You can support the families that have suffered through this police brutality, like Dante Wright's family, and through GoFundMe pages. Donate to Black Lives Matter, Black Visions Collective, Reclaim the Block, NA, NAACP Legal Defense Fund, American Civil Liberties Union, National Bail Fund Network, local bail funds across the U.S., National Police Accountability Project, Know Your Rights Camp, and so much more. I'll list this in our website, on our Instagram at Gen Z Podcast. You can go and join the protests, exercise your vote, show your support, and spread awareness on social media, and most importantly, educate yourself. We'll put, and like I said, these links are on our website. And I really hope you learned something and go educate yourself on this problem that has been going on for way too long. Anyway,
Yeah, I think.
yeah.
Sorry, I think what you just said was really, really powerful. I was definitely speechless for a while, and I completely understand what you were saying about how we personally have no personal understanding of what it feels like to be treated in that horrific way.
Yeah. So we don't know. It's probably so much worse than we can imagine it to be. Because imagine being scared on the streets. Like when I see a police officer, I mostly feel safe, and
You want to feel protected, right?
You do. I do. I think I feel that way, but most people can't, and that's sad.
Yeah.
Their
What I'm
job,
about to say,
yeah.
Yeah, what I'm about to say is it's gonna be a little. I'm gonna try to phrase it in a way that it's gonna be the most, probably in the most sensitive way that I can, but it is true that the police officers that have done this to George Floyd and to so many others it's horrific and it's completely wrong. But I'm gonna try to phrase this correctly. But there are still so many police officers out there who are trying, who are trying, who are doing their proper job to protect its citizens with equal rights. And I don't think that we are able to completely judge the whole police force based on
not.
Definitely, and I think a lot of I've seen a lot of police officers who have been judged by the actions of others, and I think we need to be a little bit more mindful about that because there are a lot of people. The majority of the police officers out there
Are good.
Are doing their jobs, are doing their proper jobs, and I realize a lot aren't, and which is horrible, and they're abusing their power. But I do want to point out, I think we both do want to point out that not all of them are like that, and we should be a little bit more cautious.
Yeah, I think what's sad is that these few people and their actions have really damaged their reputation and have, created this type of negativity towards police officers in general, because it's not true. And I think all police officers, I'm not all, but most police officers are really good and have um, that kind of motivation to really help this world.
Yeah, I think that's so true.
Anyways, another problem that I feel like I haven't mentioned is that African Americans in general don't get the kind of same fair treatment as white prisoners do, because they get heavier sentences and definitely more severe punishments for sure. I think, and it's also kind of, I'm gonna expand this a little bit further. I didn't research this in much detail, but I think women also get a lighter sentence. I think it's just because of this stereotypical view that people still kind of have, and this, it's kind of true though. I think some women tend to get off a little lighter, especially white people, I think.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know much about that at all, so I don't think I'm going to try and comment on that at all because I haven't really done anything on that. But I kind of see what you mean. How maybe white women. Again, we haven't researched this at all. This is just like
Thoughts.
Yeah.
But it's getting better. Everything's getting better.
Yeah. I saw this episode on the I think it was Noah Trevor once. It was an episode on how white people were calling the cops on black people for no apparent reason at all.
It was comedic, but it's also really serious.
It was so funny. It was so stupid. It was insanely stupid. One of them, a white middle-aged woman, called the cops on a 9-year-old boy who allegedly sexually assaulted her by grabbing her ass. And it was his backpack brushed her. It literally brushed her back. It was nowhere close to her ass. And he was like crying, and he was hugging his mom. And he was sobbing, and then she was just yelling into the phone saying this kid sexually assaulted her. His backpack brushed nowhere close, and it was a kid.
And it was so crowded. Like, honestly, it's not on purpose.
It was a kid, and also he's a kid. Their literal job is to grab things and put them in their mouth.
I don't get it. Honestly, I think that was just so uncalled for and so unnecessary. And I think I think these kind of topics are one of the hardest that we can talk about. And I know we haven't seen much of this lately, and I think that's why I kind of chose to resurface this kind of topic, because I've I've heard a lot about this in like 2020, I think, during our first quarantine period. But
Memories.
banana bread. And anyways,
Yeah.
I think it's good to just spread more awareness because we haven't heard about this a lot.
Yeah,
Definitely
the
is.
protests
Yeah.
were definitely big. Oh yeah, and I forgot I was gonna mention, um, for protests. Actually, no, I completely forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, this is gonna sound I'm gonna try to phrase this in a prop like, and if you're going to join protest, I think there have been a lot of cases where protests have gotten violent, and in no way saying, and protests in general. I'm not going to say anything. I think we did just said that African Americans have no stereotypes about being violent, and I'm not saying it in any way, shape, or form. I'm saying protests in general can have the possibility of getting violent, and I think we both think it's really important for you to express your voice and the things that you want to say. That's really important.
Share your views, unless it's hateful.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Don't share your hateful views, but do try and help be a little bit more
and make that change for the world. Because if you don't step in and make that change, and if you don't try and really let your voice be heard, nothing's gonna be done, and we're all gonna live in this miserable world forever
that no one deserves to live in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add. Do you?
Just I really hope you enjoyed this segment. I know it's really sad, and we didn't have a much happier end to this.
Then we really, yeah. Also, it also links nicely to the last 5-minute news point, because tomorrow is Peace Monday, the 21st of September, and I think it links really nicely in with the main topic today, because just be nicer to people. There's nothing wrong with going outside and saying hi to a stranger.
Just be nice. And also, I really hope you enjoyed this. I really hope you stay safe. Yeah, I don't know. But yes, thank you. Thank you for listening to us venting and mumbling and just talking, having a conversation, I guess.
And just thank you for dealing with this whole quarantine thing. I don't think people say this enough. But like, thank you for staying indoors. Thank you for, respecting people's want to be a little bit more cautious.
Yeah, thank you for vaccinating ourselves. Thank you for everything that you do. We just want to say thank you. And also thank you for listening again. Spread awareness.
Yeah, we really
go to our
appreciate
website.
it.
Donate, or you don't have to donate. Donate if you can. Yeah. Anyways.
Or get a sponsor to donate for you. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
And also, please subscribe and tune in for another episode next week.
I have a couple ideas for next week's episode, and it's gonna be a little rocky.
What?
It's gonna be. I think the next week's episode, I think it's gonna be a little controversial, but I think it's gonna be really fun.
Ooh, so excited. Anyways, always yours, Alex and Cara.
Bye.
See you.